Jaleco's Super Ninja-Kun can easily be described with 3 simple words: chibi, ninja, platformer. While it may not be a perfect game, this delightful little gem certainly holds its own on a platform full of top quality titles. Released on the Super Famicom in 1994, Super Ninja-Kun, not to be confused with the similarly titled Super Ninja Boy, is one of the many games in Jaleco's Ninja Jajamaru series. The story for this entry, or lack thereof, is the age-old trope that we seem to keep running into on this show. You guessed it, the damsel in distress. You must take on 9 obstacle-laden stages on your way to get back Princess Bubblegum, who's been captured by Skeletor. While I do like this game, Super Ninja-Kun's controls are kind of hit or miss. Simple functions like pressing Y to use your weapons and moving back and forth are fine, but it starts to fall apart with the jump mechanics. The issue being, you jump with momentum. If you're moving, you'll do a normal jump, but from a standstill, you'll jump an inch in front of you and get nowhere. This becomes problematic while platforming, and in more than one case, it screwed me over while I was desperately trying to get out of harm's way. Thankfully, there aren't any instant death pits to jump into, but a botched jump will usually send you falling back down to a lower part of a level or into a stage hazard. If you look closely, you'll see the problem. Your jump speed is slower than your walking speed, so every time you jump, you're already losing momentum, which makes judging jumps difficult, and it becomes even more so with the momentum-based jump mechanics. It seems like they tried to remedy this by adding a fast jump, which is done by double tapping a direction on the D-pad, then pressing B to jump during your ninja sprint. While this does help, it can also cause you to run into enemies or flat out miss your jump and run off a cliff. This move is needed in certain areas throughout the game, so try not to forget it exists. Another move that is easy to forget is throwing enemies, which is performed by stunning them and pressing up and Y. This move is only needed once in the entire game, and it's during the ice boss where you have to throw its children back at it. Thankfully, you have other means of attacking, like shurikens and other abilities gained throughout levels, like lightning, bombs, and boomerangs, which you can scroll between using the L and R buttons. Your different attacks also have different abilities. You can fire multiple shurikens at a time, and they have decent range. The bombs are very powerful, shoot in an arc, have good range, but can only be shot one at a time. The lightning bolt can also only be shot one at a time, but has the longest range. And the boomerangs have decent range, can be shot multiple at a time, and of course, boomerang back. The bombs and lightning also have a dual purpose. Bombs can destroy ice blocks and certain walls, and the lightning can clear rows of ice blocks. And of course, this is a ninja game we're talking about, so wall climbing is a must. You can shimmy up certain walls by jumping onto them and continually pressing A. While it can only be done in certain areas, it is quite fun to do and is necessary on your quest. The 9 levels in the game harness tons of Asian and ninja flavors as you trek through multiple dojo-esque environments or scale your way up to the top of a pagoda. You do run into your typical tropes of the time, like a fire stage and an ice stage, but the game averts your expectations with a giant airborne battleship, a decent shoot-'em-up section, and a dark and cavernous mine level complete with a minecart ride. While the majority of the levels are gratifying, there are a few with some issues, mostly the fire and ice levels. In the fire level, there's a really frustrating section where lava is rising from the ground and you have to get to safety as quickly as possible by shimmying up walls and such. But thanks to the iffy jump controls and enemies that tend to knock you all over the place, what could be a nice challenge is a real burden, as your destination is usually back down into the lava. Thankfully, it isn't a one-hit death. The ice stage once again suffers from bad jump mechanics, which are only intensified by the ice physics. The enemies also don't make things any easier, as I mentioned, they tend to knock you around a lot. Thankfully, I don't really have any gripes about the rest of the stages. One nice thing that really helps them from being very one-note is that they're non-linear, so paths branch out a little bit and can either lead to the next part of the stage or off to some goodies. It kind of gives off a less complicated Metroid vibe. That being said, they aren't massive or too complicated, so finding the path to progress isn't very difficult. Speaking of the goodies you unearth through your travels, there are only a few. Those being extra heart containers, which give you extra hit points. There are usually a couple in each stage, as the hearts you get don't carry over to the next level for some reason. But that's fine, as the game isn't very hard. There are also 1-ups placed throughout in case you're in serious need of an extra life. And lastly is the Power Ball, which is akin to the Mega Mushroom in the Mario franchise, as upon pickup you double in size to become a Super Ninja. Although these are scarce throughout the game and sometimes they're placed in terrible areas. Like here, I just wasted the whole thing trying to get out of the hole it was placed in. The lack of power-ups is mostly due to the addition of your power bar, which you fill up by collecting the souls of your fallen foes. When full, you can press A to activate the special abilities gained throughout levels, like having a Shadow Ninja to help you wail on enemies, and this Fire Blast which spirals outward. These last the duration of your power bar, but you can hold on to them longer by continuing to collect souls while they're activated. I do have to say, even if I'm not a big fan of the fire and ice levels, the enchanting graphics that adorn them and the rest of the game keep me going. Color is well utilized throughout levels, like the first one where grays and blacks take up a decent amount of the background, but are undercut with the bright pink of the cherry blossoms and the blue of the sky. Or how your lantern buddy in the dark mine gives off a light that creates this subtle yellow, pink, and blue gradient on the environment. Think about that. They made a dark mine pop with color, yet still feel menacing. The backgrounds aren't distractingly bright either, as they've given them a semi-washed out pastel look, so both Ninja-Kun and his foes are more pronounced and don't get lost in the background. Speaking of enemies, there are plenty in each level to keep you on your toes, so stay frosty. Plus, there's a good variety of them, as each level tends to introduce new ones, like these little drummer devils in Stage 2 and these robots in Stage 6. Despite that, still expect to see plenty of ninjas and red beanbags. To keep things fresh, certain enemies, like the Fire Samurais, can't be killed by just pelting them with shurikens. You have to stun them first before you can take them out. It's a nice touch that keeps you from just mindlessly attacking foes. Bosses also keep things interesting, as a number of them test your ninja skills. The second boss flies and his only weak spot is on his head, so make sure your wall climbing skills are up to speed. Hopefully you're good at throwing enemies by the time you reach the 5th level boss, or else it's going to teach you to be, as that's the only way to take down its second form. And speed and dodging is the name of the game for this guy. Besides testing your abilities, there's some strategy to which weapon you should use on bosses. Like the bombs make dealing with Skeletor's Wily machines much easier, and shurikens make quick work of boss 2 and 3. Of course, I have to talk about how darn cute this game is. To go with the chibi style are some wonderfully expressive characters. Anytime an enemy is hit, it usually results in a delightfully over-the-top expression. Even bosses aren't immune to it. Hell, even Skeletor's out here being as cute as possible. Look at this guy, he's just jamming out. I feel bad that I have to kill him. Cute? I don't know, this boss is kind of intimidating. Nope, still cute. Other little details like Ninja-Kun sweating as he clings to walls, or how funny he looks when he gets stunned, are welcome additions that help bring the game to life. Also, look at your rad shade-wearing dragon! The music is certainly a low point for this game. Not because it's lousy, but because there's so little variety. Of the 9 stages, 6 of them share the exact same song, which wouldn't be too bad if the track wasn't rather short and repetitive. But it gets worse because there are stages and boss fights where there's no music at all. I thought this was an emulation glitch, but the same problem occurs on my actual cart, so emulation isn't the problem. The big kicker to all of this is that there are 8 unused songs on the OST, which are really good and should have been used. I have no idea if it was a time-related issue or a programming bug that caused them not to show up, but it's a real shame because as a music guy, this would have helped the game out a lot in my book. Surprisingly, this isn't the only version of this game. It was broadcast on the Satellaview at some point, so a BS Super Ninja-Kun does exist. Just real quick, for those who don't know, Nintendo used to broadcast games to the Super Famicom via an add-on called the Satellaview. Anyways, from the scant footage available, the game isn't any different, except I believe they may have fixed the music issue. The reason I believe this is that there's a playthrough of Super Ninja-Kun on YouTube where all of the unused music is in the game. So I think that person may have used the BS version for their playthrough. Although, it is possible they went in and added the music in post, and I'm just overanalyzing the situation. From the gaudy levels to the downright cute enemies and characters, this game is no slouch when it comes to flashy appeal. Despite its numerous flaws, which do weigh down the game, I still have to recommend it as a fun platformer. Even with its shortcomings, the game isn't hard to finish. It's a casual, easygoing play, especially with 2 players, so your friends or partners who don't play video games can tag along and have fun too. Just don't forget to give yourself more lives to make things even sweeter. Plus, they put sunglasses on the dragon. Finding a copy can be kind of tricky as the game shares the same name as Super Ninja Boy, also for the Super NES. But typing Super Ninja-Kun Jalico into eBay yielded the results we're looking for. The $30 to $40 price tag is a little deterring, but I can assure you the price has stayed the same since I bought my copy around this time last year. Besides, it's way more appealing than the nearly $500 price tag for a boxed copy. If you're ready to plunge into a chibi ninja adventure, then look no further than Super Ninja-Kun.